Hello. Hi, everyone. Hiya. Hi.
Hello, I'm from California.
Hello. Hi. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, it's 10 in the morning over here.
Oh.
I'm in California too. Hi, Ray.
Hey,
Hiya.
where are you from? Where in California?
In the Sierra foothills above Sacramento.
I live in Sacramento.
Oh,
Do you have a non-dual meeting that you go to
no,
in California? No.
it's a good idea.
I know. I'm trying to find one.
Izzy, you want to come?
Yeah.
Sure.
Talk about that.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah, no, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
Okay, well, yeah, hi everyone. Nice to see you all. Okay, so what's this about? Well, of course, it's not about anything. So there isn't even a message, so to speak. All that is being suggested, one could say, is that this is it, so to speak. So this being an apparent body sitting on a chair, listening to Izzy on Zoom, sitting, breathing, asking questions, thinking, is all there is. So, I mean, there is no message. As I say, there's nothing that could be said or that needs to be said. So what is sitting on Zoom, apparently sitting on Zoom, is naturally whole and complete, one could say. So it's naturally perfect, just as it is. But of course, this is a totally blind perfection, one could say. So what is totally blind to itself. And it's just totally innocently, perfectly itself, one could say. So of course, there is no knowledge of this. There's no knowledge of sitting on Zoom. There is no experience of sitting on Zoom. There is no awareness of sitting on Zoom. Sitting on Zoom is what appears to be happening, but of course it's not actually happening. Nothing ever happens. So there seems to be these apparent bodies that claim, I am happening, I am a me, I am X years old, this is me, this is my life. One day I was born, one day I will die. So of course, there's nothing wrong with this. There's nothing wrong with anything. This also is just what is. It's an apparent body saying, I'm me, I'm sitting on Zoom, listening to Izzy. So of course, the suggestion, one could say, is that this is an illusion. And there is no actual illusion. This is an apparent illusion that there is someone. There isn't. There's no one. And this apparent illusion can just suddenly collapse, one could say. An explosion into boundlessness. To be revealed, one could say, that there only ever was boundless energy. There never was a separate me. There never was a separate individual. There is no me. Okay, well, I think that's it from me for a little introduction. So anyone's welcome to unmute themselves and ask a question or comment or just have a chat. Yeah, let's see what happens. Okay. Got one in the chat. Do you consider Vipassana a useful practice? Well, of course not, no. There is no useful, there's nothing that's useful. There is no useful anything. There is no use in anything. Of course, Vipassana, meditation, yoga, whatever may appear to happen, but they already happen to, by, and for no one. I mean, for me, with Vipassana and things like this, they always were to get something or to get somewhere, or even if subtly, to not get something or be present or not get anywhere. Still had an agenda, one could say. So, yeah. There's nothing wrong with Vipassana, of course. It doesn't seem to happen much here anymore, but, or at all. Hi, Barbara.
Hi, Izzy. I feel a little bit embarrassed because every question is coming from the mind on some level. And so, okay, here we go with a question, another question. So I've heard that you did go to non-dual meetings before you had, whatever happened that allowed the self to drop away or be seen that it's not real. Yet, I'm not the word yet. I'm not even sure what language to use, but I am curious what knowing, I know there is no knowing, but prior to the self falling away, apparently there was some questions that came from you also, and some attempts of understanding or knowing or peering through, or so I'd like to ask you to talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, me was just me in that sense. This seems to just be how the setup works. So in this sense, of course, there was nothing special or different about Izzy's seeking in that way. But yeah, I mean, I attended sort of a few non-dual things within the last few years, as kind of my interest in spirituality kind of changed, I guess you could say, sort of less kind of Buddhism or religion, and more kind of just into Advaita, more traditional Advaita, and then came across this so-called message via Andreas and Tony. So yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not really anything to say, of course. There was an awakening, and then obviously I survived that, one could say. I was still there and sort of understood intellectually, one could say, that it didn't happen to me or that there is no one, but of course I still felt like me. So it seemed very, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I'd like to again ask you to break that down, because you were going to non-dual meetings, you were asking questions, you were also curious or seeking or something like that. And something allowed your being or to see more clearly, something like that, you know.
Well,
a little bit more, the self fell away. So I think it's easier to talk about what it was like after the self fell away, and I'm curious about what happened in the, you know, even though nobody will have a different, everybody will have a different suggesting a path or anything like that. But I am curious about what was seen, understood, woven together, something.
Well, I mean, one could say, of course, these apparent insights seem to, of course, be more attributed with this apparent awakening, I would say, because, as I say, there was someone that survived that. So I don't know, I remember there were phrases that I sort of turned into mantras very exhaustingly, which is sort of that everything arises out of nothing, and all there is nothing being everything. I mean, I really can't remember, to be honest. These sorts of whole things just fall apart in that sense, of course. But so yeah, as I say, these apparent insights seem to, and then because I survived that, they seem to happen to me. And as I say, they're turned into something, a mantra, a doctrine, a knowledge, a philosophy, a truth, whatever. But yeah, then about 9 months later, this whole setup just collapsed. So of course, seen from the person, this is death. Totally. So of course there is no, it's just the end of the idea even of insight, the apparent end. So there is no insight now. Of course there is no message. So there just is nothing being everything, which is this. Yeah, so these apparent insights with this awakening, but of course then this whole game just totally collapses. And of course there's no before and after, because it doesn't happen. And equally there's no I've lost my train of thought now. No, gone. Sorry, it was probably a real gem.
What lost a train of thought?
Sorry?
Who or what lost a train of thought?
Well, of course, there is no one. Yeah. There's just what appears to be happening. Izzy appearing to think, Izzy appearing to lose her train of thought, Izzy speaking. There just is no me, no one inside, no one outside. So of course, what's being suggested is totally normal. Totally normal.
What is
This.
about that?
Sorry?
What is normal about that?
About there being no one.
Yeah.
Well, it's naturally how it is, one could say. Totally. Seen from the person would think this seems crazy. What do you mean there is no one? Izzy's the anomaly, and she's fallen away, she's died, and what is being me, so to speak, what is feeling like a me is normal, and Izzy's had this strange mystical experience. Of course not, no. The naturally how it is this, and there is no one. Nice to meet you. Okay, another one in the chat. Is deep acceptance or complete surrender to what is possible? Well, of course not. No. What is, I mean, if you want to say so, one could say what is naturally deep acceptance in terms of, there just is no one to accept or not accept. It just is what is. This thing of to accept or not is not even a thing. So to say what is deep acceptance doesn't really make sense. But if one wanted to use those words. But no, this idea that there is someone who could accept or who could surrender to what is already seems to set up 2 or 3 or whatever. There's me, and I can surrender to what is. No, of course not. There's just what is. And if it appears that there's a body saying, I'm trying to surrender to what is, or I'm trying to go with the flow or whatever, then that's just what appears to be happening. There is no option even to go with the flow. The relaxed person might think, I'm very relaxed. I just go with the flow and just, take things in my stride. And of course, that's just what appears to be happening. But there is no one who can do this.
Hey, Izzy Line.
Hi, Rosa.
Good morning. This is so stunning. Always when you're talking, this is so clear, This is so mindless, blind, as you say. So lovely. Just want to share this with you. I don't know. It's maybe because of your appearance, smiling, and I just love you. This is so beautiful. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, thanks, Rosa.
Enjoy. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you again.
You too.
Hi, Izzy.
Hello.
Hello. This is Antonio. Can you see me?
Oh, hi. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Hi. How are you? I just nice to see you. I just wanted to say a huge thanks to you.
Oh.
Have no questions and don't need any answers in a way. Just not even relaxed. Just want to be passive. Receive your radiance. See that how you provide. Because people just ask so funny questions and you give, I'd say, serious questions in a funny way. And you give a funny answer in a serious way, which kind of collapses them. Yeah, that's great. And yeah, thank you so much and love you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I let you to be as you are. That's great. Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you.
Hello.
Hiya.
Yeah, your message is different from Tony Parsons. He's more of an assassin, and you have a kinder, kinder message, you know. And but you both have the same effect of deleting the me. So yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
No, thank you. Okay, again in the chat. Can listening to non-dual messages create an opening for the collapse of me-ness? Well, of course, this is said as a story, one could say, that there can just be a resonance with what is suggested in these meetings, online, on Zoom, whatever. There can seem to just be an unconditional yes, that just, yeah, of course, there is no one. But of course, this resonance, one could say, is totally energetic. So, like everything, of course. So there is no one, or there is no one, but there is no one who's saying, oh yes, this is it, this is the truth, this is right, because of course there is no truth. And this is not pointing to an it that this is. So I mean, energetically, one could say an unconditional yes. And there this apparent contraction, which is only an illusion, an apparent illusion, can just seem to explode into boundlessness. As I say, to be revealed that there only ever was boundlessness, boundless energy, and that there never was this actual contraction on the body, around the body, whatever. That me never happened and was totally impossible. Total impossibility. So yes, of course, as a story, one could say there can seem to be this apparent collapse, perhaps. But of course, there's no cause and effect. You know, I was listening to Izzy and that's why this collapsed. No, I mean, totally random in that sense, of course, because there is no actual collapse. So it could never be said that it happened because I listened to Zoom with Izzy on a Wednesday. No, there's just no cause, totally uncaused already. Okay, in the chat, I realized today that time is an illusion and that whatever I was looking for was a picture of enlightenment in the future. Is it true that doing this is a sort of identification with forms? Is it true that doing this is a sort of identification with forms? I'm not really sure what the last bit means. I think it might have, I don't know, I remember forms being something to do with Buddhism, but I can't remember. That's how good my knowledge was. Well, I mean, I'll try and answer in terms of what I think the question's saying. So yeah, I mean, of course, not time is the illusion, one could say, the apparent illusion, and time is the me, so to speak, of course. So there is no me that believes or feels there to be time. The sense of time is the sense of me, the apparent sense of me. And yes, of course, me always seems to project liberation or enlightenment into the so-called future then. But of course, yeah, there is no future. There is no enlightenment or liberation. So one could say, is doing this an identification with forms? Well, of course, not really, because there's no person that is identified with forms, such as, if you're meaning forms like time, enlightenment. No, this sense, as I say, this sense of there being time is the sense of there being someone, or the sense of there being a future liberation is the sense of there being someone. There's no person who then believes in a future liberation. This sense that there is a future liberation is the sense of me. So in this sense, there's no sort of identification with the apparent idea that there is a liberation. Is just, I mean, this is just what appears to be happening, of course, but there is no actual liberation, of course not. So I'm not really sure if that answers what you were asking, but where does then this seeming person or seeking energy come from? Well, of course, no, there is no seeming person. There is no seeking energy in that sense as a separate seeking energy. So of course, it doesn't come from anywhere. I mean, nothing comes from anywhere. What is totally uncaused. It doesn't have an origin or a source or a God or a Big Bang or whatever. No. Sitting on Zoom, apparently sitting on Zoom, does not have a beginning. And it doesn't have an end. So of course, nothing comes from anywhere. What is doesn't come from anywhere, but this seeming person obviously doesn't even happen. So even more so doesn't come from anywhere. Of course not. It's just not even a thing. Hi, Tony.
Yeah, hello.
Hi.
Actually, I didn't want to ask you a question, but something popped up in my mind regarding, because you mentioned this, and I've heard in different meetings that the term contraction is there. So it automatically creates an expansion, right? Contraction, expansion. So I was thinking about this. I was really in a dual sense thinking, I mean, yeah, because many traditions do I'd say more than believe. They have sun as, the sun solar system has a point of reference because it's very still, but it kind of radiates and expands. And this has been referred for a long time. And just want to ask, because we're just talking, we just need some platform, some base, even to say that it's all apparent, etc. Can we take sun as a point of reference? Because we are like one family under the sun, in a way, because of sun rays. I think a grass and a human being eating a plant or a flower or fruit, whatever maybe, we are kind of a reflection from the sun. For example, when the sun is above, its reflection is falling on the lake. It's an apparent self, of course, but it's at the same time, it's the same and it's not the same. You know what I mean? It's the sun, but it's not the sun. Sun is above. So my question is, can we take just for a point of reference? I know that point of reference has to have a reason and a person behind, or a person needs a point of reference. Just to know because sun has this quality of innocence, because whoever you may be Britain or British or anyone brown, black, or good, bad, even in a prison cell, the sun rays go and it just penetrates. It's just so innocent. It just not just for human beings, it's all for grass or anything. Yeah, I know that this is all coming from a mind, but I just want to ask, because the sun, from humans' perspectives, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but in reality, if you go nearby the sun, of course, you can't go, you get burned. In reality, there is no sunset or sunrise, it's always there. It's been permanent and it's just still, and it radiates, it kind of expands with no reason. Can I take sun as point of reference, just to be on apparent theory or something like that?
I see. When you say point of reference, do you mean like metaphor?
Not even a metaphor, just to have, because I don't need, but I just want to, like you say, this is happening for no one. Like I can only relate this to the sun and the solar system. For example, the Earth rotates, but the sun has no intention. It has no intention of anything. So that I can relate to. Yeah.
Of course, in this sense, the apparent person would. I mean, of course, it's a lovely idea in this sense, but of course, the apparent person would always have to have something to, is this sort of make up this story, so to speak, of this being like something, or likening it to something, or having a point of reference. But But I mean, sure, you know, it's a lovely story and a metaphor
Yeah.
in that sense. But of course, what is just can't be likened to anything. So there just is no possibility to say that it is like the analogy of the sun,
Mhm.
or that it isn't like the analogy of the sun.
Yeah.
Because an apparent Tony asking a question or talking about the sun and the solar systems and is it like this or can this be a point of reference is just what appears to be happening.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, I understand, like, I kind of understand your answer, but I take my question even further. Even if I don't exist, even after my death, the sun will be still there. This process, this show must go on, will go on. And still it will be having the same kind of, expansion. It won't change, unchanging. You
Well,
cannot
okay,
change
I
it.
mean,
It's independent of person. That's what I am coming to say. It's not depending upon me. Even if I'm passed away, it will be the same.
well, I
You
mean,
can't change that.
in this analogy, in this metaphor, to use this little story, there is no sun.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because no one has gone near sun, and even just saying that it's kind of a heat ball, and even
Well, there
no
is
one
no
knows if it
actual
exists.
sun. So this sense of there being an actual what is, or an actual anything, of course there isn't. There is nothing in that sense, nothing being everything. So this sort of would seem to perhaps go around this sort of idea of there is something which is eternal, or life eternal, or awareness, or God, or a source, or something like the sun, let's say, as an analogy, that sort of that is forever here, you know, never changes, will be here beyond the physical form, was here before the physical form. So, of course, the apparent suggestion is just that there is no such thing. There is no sun in that, to use that story. There is nothing which is even here. Nothing is happening. There is no reality.
Okay. That's yeah, maybe a last point or something like this. So can I put all your definitions, like boundless, complete, whatever, maybe to sun, or not even an invisible sun, I say, because it all matches. It's boundless. It's complete. You don't need anything for that. Yeah.
I mean, there's no, you know, the words are just words in that sense. So of course, if
Yeah.
if one wants to talk about the sun, you know, it's just
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
I don't
just had
police
this
the words.
question. Yeah, I understand. But at the end of the day, everything has to stop to some nothingness and to everythingness, or nothingness.
Well, at the end, in this sense, of course, what is totally indescribable. So me and you, apparent bodies talking on Zoom, is just what appears to be happening. It's not actually happening, but it's totally indescribable. So of course, you know, saying it's nothing being everything, or what is, or its wholeness, or the sun, or whatever word, you know, one wants to use, really doesn't matter, because of course it's just totally indescribable. Nothing could describe what appearing to sit on Zoom actually is like, or is.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah, you could call it the sun. I mean,
yeah, because I can only say more than your parents, because of course your mom gave birth to you, but she didn't plan every from your embryo that you need to have your first eye, second eye, and your breathing system. Everything is kind of a magic for no reason, and the way a baby is born, just leave human beings, because we just, because of our mind, we just talk a lot and think a lot, even just for a small insect, how it's formed and how it survives. And it's so fascinating. I like, I don't know, Tao Te Ching, Lao Tzu, because he's in the person. He's just an old person. That's the name of Lao Tzu. And he always references to nature and go beyond nature. And that's why I asked if sun could be kind of an unreferenced reference, but I think your answer always makes sense. Thanks for that. And yeah, even in deep sleep, I'd say everything is lost. All these talks, everything kind of vanishes.
Exactly. I mean, what is seen from the person, this is total loss, of course. Yeah, total death.
Okay.
So
I think it makes sense.
There's just no possibility of a reference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm not saying from my experience, but at least it makes sense more to see from nature's perspective than from science, metaphysics, or wars, or politics, or economics, or social system, because it's all made up of mind. And if you take this idea to one part of a tree, to a blue bird singing, it doesn't make any sense. In a way, you're really
in that sense, a tree doesn't say, I'm me, you know, this is my life, this is my purpose, this is my desire. I mean, yeah, so there's no difference, of course, between the parent tree and the parent body, even an apparent body claiming to be someone. So yeah, of course, in that sense, you could say that Izzy is like a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
It just doesn't offer anything. There is nothing to offer.
Yeah, and we are tree because the oxygen intake, outtake, it depends upon the tree. All our organs are divided in different parts of the system. We don't exist here in this body because if the tree doesn't give us the oxygen, we cannot survive. It's just not happening within this system. It depends upon too much systems here. And yeah, it's all divided, I'd say, everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, when I say like a tree, what I'm sort of suggesting, I guess, is that in this sense of just totally nothing being everything. So not sort of so much, you know, this sort of quite romantic idea of us being one with nature, you know, me sort of seems to cling on with that, you know, I am nature, I am not part of nature, I am nature. All of this nature seems very romantic. But when I say like a tree, I just mean in the sense of there's just nothing being everything. Just, well, I mean, even saying like a tree is just too silly of an example, but in this sense of a chair, it just doesn't, there's just nothing offered, nothing said, no reason, no purpose. A tree, an apparent body, an apparent Zoom meeting. All that appears to happen is just whole and complete and has no reason or purpose. Yeah.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Nice.
Or my question was long. I just leave it to others.
Oh, no, nice to speak with you.
Thank you, Izzy.
Thanks. Okay, got a couple in the chat. I've done that one. Okay. Sometimes apparent me's leave very rude comments underneath your and other speakers' videos on YouTube. It's such a threatening message. I hope you don't get bothered by it. Oh, and continue speaking. I feel we must protect you at all costs. Oh, thank you. Lol. Now I'm typing, I realize it's the me who wants to stay listening to Izzy. Anyway, I love it. You're lovely. Oh, thank you very much. That's very sweet. And yeah, I mean, of course, they're just this one that would get offended or hurt by this in a deep way is dead. So yes, comment away. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, of course, that's very nice. Thank you so much. Okay, another one in the chat. I don't understand when you say that the personal seeking energy does not exist. Is it not true that there are people right now in the present moment that are seeking or suffering their belief in ego? Please help me understand. I experience consciousness or awareness as an infinite spaciousness which is intertwined with everyone and everything. And right now there is no person, but I remember when I did believe that I was a person. Is the illusion not happening to other people right now? Well, I mean, of course, the short answer is no, of course not. There is no illusion, even. There is no one. Yeah. I mean, I'll try and expand a bit, reading the question again. Is it not true that there are people right now in the present moment that are seeking or / suffering their belief in ego? Of course not, no. There is no one, there is no people or person, and there is no present moment. So all that appears to be happening is an apparent person, an apparent body typing a question on a Zoom chat with Izzy. And that's just all there is, all that appears to be happening. It's not happening to anyone. There's no one doing that or not doing that. There just is no one. And there's no understanding. So I can't help you understand because there's neither I nor you, nor anything to understand. So what is total unconditional freedom and total unconditional love, which of course is totally threatening for the apparent person, because this is it. And the apparent person seems to live in this illusory loop of being something, being someone, getting something in the future, creating a better now so that the future will be better, whatever. And that's fine, that's just what appears to be happening, but that of course is no actual person doing or not doing that. And so this experience of consciousness or pure awareness or the experience of no one or emptiness or whatever is of course just another personal experience, apparent personal experience, however impersonal it may seem. It always comes back to me in this sense, of course, yeah. But there is no me, of course. But even the apparent person claiming, I am pure awareness, I am boundlessness, or there is just boundlessness, and there's still this sense of I am in that, this location, that there's the I am awareness, or my true nature is boundlessness or emptiness. There's still this sense of me, there seems to be, in this claim. So of course, yeah, none of this happens. There is no awareness, there is no consciousness, nor any person who could be aware or conscious if there was. All there is what appears to be happening. Okay, again in the chat. The offence could arise for no one, as this is unlimited and free to appear as anything, wordlessly nothing, of course. Exactly. Yeah, taking offence may appear, getting annoyed may appear. Yeah. Keyboard warriors may appear. Doesn't happen very often, if at all. But of course, anything can happen. It's just totally normal. Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to make the claim that if you're made up of atoms, then you don't exist. That's what the me. If there's no me, then if you're made up of atoms, then you don't exist. What's your thought on that?
Well, of course, there are no actual atoms. So
Yeah.
I mean, an apparent body being made up of apparent atoms is just what appears to be happening as a story, one could say.
That's true, yeah.
Apparent scientific discoveries. The person would sort of take this as sort of, an intellectual truth, one could say. Science tells us that nothing exists, everything is energy, of course, yeah. But what's being suggested, of course, is not theoretical, it's totally energetic. So
right.
This isn't, of course, a theory of there being no one, or that there is just boundlessness. No, there is just boundlessness, and there is no one. So it just is how it is in that sense. So there's no sense of Izzy sitting here, of course not. And this Zoom call is not actually happening. Okay, a couple more in the chat. I Hi Izzy, what would you say is the difference between private and personal? P.S. Your smile is adorable. Thanks. No, thank you. Well, of course, there's no difference between anything. No, of course, there may be this apparent difference between one's private life. Oh, wait, there's private and personal difference. Oh, well, no, I mean, in my interpretation, I would say a private or a personal life would be sort of suggesting the same thing. But of course, I mean, this whole thing seems to have totally collapsed. This idea that there is a private or personal inner life, of course, has just totally collapsed. There just isn't one ever at all. So, I mean, this thing of sort of having a public, like a Jekyll and Hyde, like a public persona, you know, that you perform and put onto others. Then behind closed doors, I can be the real me and, you know, be myself and relax and all this. I mean, this whole thing, this whole setup just totally collapses. There is no one to perform or perform to, and there is no separation between a public and personal life. There just is no one no longer making this sort of distinction or making this effort to be someone or look good or come across a certain way. No, I don't know if that answers the private and personal thing, but what is it that appears to be happening? Why does it appear the way it appears? Well, of course, there is neither a what nor a why. So what appears to be happening is just what appears to be happening. And it is nothing being everything. It's all there is. And so it's not an it that appears to be happening. There is no it that appears to be happening. So I mean, you know, you can't say, what is it that appears to be happening? Oh, it's this, it's that, it's X, it's Y. No, of course not. There is nothing happening. And why does it appear the way it appears? Well, obviously then there is no why, because it doesn't even appear. So what appears to be happening is unconditional freedom and unconditional love. And one could say it just appears the way it appears, and there is no why. And what is doesn't even know itself. And so, of course, couldn't even ask why if it could. The only thing that seems to ask why, what, how, when is this apparent me that never happens. How do you know all this and I don't? Well, of course I don't. There is no one. There is no knowing. There is no one that knows anything. And there is no this that is being spoken about. What's being suggested is that there is no this that's being spoken about. I mean, it's totally impossible to know apparently sitting on Zoom or an apparent Zoom meeting. Totally unknown. I mean, unknown doesn't even make sense because this just seems to be affiliated with this idea it could be known. It just is what it is, whole and complete, naturally. Someone says in the chat, I'm imagining someone asking to marry you and you saying, sorry, there is no one here to marry you. Well, yeah, it would be quite a good way to decline if I wasn't keen, I guess. Okay, in the chat. Do I even think or feel I want to marry someday anyway? I was just probably going slightly off topic. I mean, who knows? Of course, I mean, there is, you know, before maybe this would have been sort of a genuine question out of life, you know, do I want to meet someone, to marry? Do I want to have children, have a job? You know, what career should I take? These sort of big life questions, so to speak. But this one that would ask these things is dead. So, I mean, if marriage happens, marriage happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. There's just no one sort of, I don't know, planning these things in this way, of course. Just totally natural, what appears to be happening.
Yeah. Maybe I would say I agree to you, Izzy, on that. If it happens, it happens. Like you happen on this earth. You had black hair, white hair, brownish, whatever it may be, and your skin color, it doesn't matter anymore. It doesn't happen to anyone, even raising up children, because I see that today's world, people are too much affected or attracted towards their own genes, DNA. My child looks like me, she has to be that, this, that, everything. At least the society mindset, raising up your children, everything could collapse into it. I totally agree to you. If it happens, it happens. Like they say, shit happens, happens. Doesn't
Exactly.
matter.
Of course, in this sense, and this isn't a philosophy, of course. So it's not sort of, you know, saying, you know, like just go with the flow, or I can't remember, there's another expression like that, like, and like you say, a bit like, you know, what happens just happens, you know, kind of the person seems to turn this into a mantra, like, you know, oh, it's just, you know, just if it happens, it happens. I don't know, I'll just see when I get there. But of course, that's not what's being suggested, one could say. It's sort of, you know, there's just what appears to be happening. So there's no one controlling this apparent happening or trying to go with the flow, or as I say, yeah, you know, be one with what appears to be happening.
Yeah, I think the important thing is to remember that it doesn't happen to me or you or to anyone. That's kind of the tricky part. And I was also thinking about this. How do these things happen? Do I have to plan? Do I have to say? Then everything has to collapse. It has to happen so naturally in a flow. I'd say this time I had to take nature's analogy, because they don't plan weddings, they don't have wedding, and they do have family, houses, children, and everything. And even today, humans survive only because they can eat something from a plant or from the soil, which is kind of magic, and we do exist because of them, and they don't have any fixed plans. In this way, I really follow nature, because that's the only trick, or not trick, that's the only reality I get out of this mind, because mind needs planning. Because without planning, you cannot put your kids into school, all these things. Yeah, if you have to get into the marital status, the society expectations. But like you said, if it happens, it happens. Like shit happens. Done. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Tony. Okay, in the chat. Do you consider yourself lucky that you came upon this fairly quickly and that you didn't last long? Lucky that I died, you mean? Yeah, well. I mean, of course, no, when one could say when I realised, when I was still alive, when I realised this was about my death, no, of course not. This didn't seem lucky then. No, this seemed very unlucky. That I only had 22 years. My time seemed cut short. But of course, well, not seriously, but of course, this is about death for the person, the apparent person. So no, I wouldn't have considered myself lucky at all. But I see what you're saying, of course, you know, these stories of 50, 60 years of seeking and all this, and one could say that didn't happen here in that length of time, but I would say that the intensity was quite strong. Although there is of course not a person that is not intensely seeking, because the person doesn't seek. The apparent person is the apparent seeking. And there's no person that seeks. The apparent seeking is the sense of being someone. So, I mean, I could answer yes, of course, but really, you know, as I say, there is nothing in this for the person. It's not lucky. It's not a benefit. Of course not, no. It's death. And the person can seem to think they would like this death. You know, it sounds very exciting. You know, Izzy talks about this collapse, this boundlessness, you know, how cool, how interesting. I want that to happen to me. But of course, the person has absolutely no idea, of course. There is no one. So as a story, one could say the person has no idea. It totally thinks it knows what Izzy's talking about, but there just is nothing. And that's totally inconceivable. And the person will try to conceive it, but it's already an impossibility. There is no one. In the chat, moodiness is life, nothing is stable. Yeah, exactly. Moodiness, happiness, sadness, pain, totally full on life for no one. Totally intense. Yeah. Full intensity of life already for no one. Okay, I'll take one more in the chat and then I think we'll call it a night or a day. Hey Izzy, have your apparent friendships changed? What kind of apparent conversations have arisen recently? Well, I mean, friendships have changed in the sense of, you know, before when I was probably an unhappy seeker, let's say, I didn't have many friends, of course. So I mean, now there are no friends in the sense of you know, there's just friends on a Zoom call, on a dog walk, and I mean, there's just no relationship, of course. There's no like, you know, this is me, these are my friends, this is my friendship group. No one's a friend, or everyone's a friend, of course. Yeah. And but yeah, I mean, there may seem to be less of an interest in so-called people who maybe just are talking a lot about an apparent me in my life. But of course, I mean, there's no one who's bothered by that either, of course. just what appears to be happening. And yeah, apparent conversations, just totally normal. Totally normal and probably totally English. The weather, the football, whatever English people do. Okay, I'll take one more quickly. It seems like I believe in the person in some way still. Is there something I can do in order to stop this seeking or personhood? Of course not. No. There is no person and there is no real seeking. And there is no one who believes in a person, or, I mean, yeah, of course, this isn't separate from this apparent person. Me would seem to think that there's me and that I am in the dream. I believe in the person or the me, and I need to, that then needs to fall away, and then there'll just be no problem for me. But of course, there is no one who believes in me. There's just this, well, there is no one, but there seems to be this apparent person. So of course, there's nothing anyone can do or not do because there is no one. And this person, this apparent loop just never happens. Individuals like to own relationships and everything, actually. So it seems, yeah, me seems to say, this is mine. This is my relationship, my friendship, my life, my house, my car, my feelings. Yeah. But of course, this is just the illusion. There is no one. Okay, so I think we'll leave it there. We've done a good hour. So yeah, this is it. This is wholeness. This is everything. So sitting on Zoom with Izzy, apparently sitting on Zoom with Izzy for an hour or so is just what appears to be happening. And it's naturally whole, naturally complete, and naturally unconditional love, one could say. Yeah, and there's no beginning, there's no end. It's just this. So the next meeting will be on Saturday, I think it's the 8th, this Saturday, at 11 a.m. in the morning, British summertime, BST, which I think is quite early for those in America. It's 6 a.m. EST. And then next weekend is the April Zoom weekend intensive, which everyone is welcome to come to. There's a few people from America coming just for the afternoons, so you're more than welcome to do that as well. Just yeah, drop me an email if you want to come. I can send you the details and the link. But for now, that's all. So thanks for coming. And maybe see some of you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, Izzy.
Take care, everyone.
Love you so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. Take care. Bye.
Thank you, Izzy. Bye-bye.
Thanks for coming. Bye.
Thank you, Izzy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Izzy.
Thanks.